Sodom and Gomorrah and their fiery fate appear in the book of Genesis in the Old Testament, the Torah, and the Quran. However, common knowledge about Sodom and Gomorrah might be a bit off. So let's dive in and discover the misunderstandings about Sodom and Gomorrah. 1. The cities of the plain. Here's the truth. Sodom and Gomorrah are often mentioned together, much like Sherlock Holmes and Dr. Watson, making it strange to hear one without the other. This pairing is misleading because Sodom and Gomorrah were part of a larger group of civilizations, called the cities of the plain, a collection of 5 great cities along the Jordan River in biblical times. The other cities, though less mentioned, are Admah, Zeboim, and Zoar. Sodom and Gomorrah's destruction is often highlighted, but the Bible notes that Admah and Zeboim were also destroyed for being equally sinful. Zoar, however, survived, and was the town Lot fled to as God enacted his plan. 2. Reasons for destruction. Many believe the cities of the plain were destroyed due to homosexuality, but there's also a tradition suggesting it was due to inhospitality. Various prophets in the Bible have different takes on why Sodom was destroyed. Ezekiel mentions arrogance and neglect of the poor. Jeremiah hints at adultery, and 2 Peter cites lawlessness, which could refer to various transgressions. 3. Biblical interpretations. The Bible's multiple interpretations arise from its books being written over centuries by different authors, with diverse perspectives. Seeking a single unified message about Sodom's destruction is as futile as finding an easy way to beat Battletoads. Most of the Old Testament is ancient, and the book of Genesis even more so, making it challenging to find scientific proof of its cities. An exception might be Sodom. In 2005, archaeologists discovered Tal el Hammam in Jordan, possibly the biblical Sodom, destroyed by fire around the Middle Bronze period. 4. Archaeological evidence. Stephen Collins, the lead archaeologist, an evangelical, believes he found Sodom. Despite his bias, the site matches the probable location and time frame of the cities of the plain. Evidence includes a layer of ash and pottery melted by extreme heat, possibly from a meteor airburst like the Tunguska event of 1908, which flattened Siberian forests. Collins' theory, though intriguing, remains unconfirmed until peer-reviewed. 5. Survival of Zoar. Zoar, the smallest city in Genesis, survived Sodom and Gomorrah's destruction. Zoar has a rich history, with evidence from the Neolithic, Bronze Age and Iron Age, and was a significant trading settlement. It was documented by Romans, Byzantines, and Islamic sources, with ongoing archaeological discoveries enhancing our understanding. There are many instances of biblical stories overlapping with those from other cultures. 6. Similar stories in other cultures. The tale of Sodom and Gomorrah is no different. Rather than appearing on an ancient Mesopotamian cuneiform, its doppelganger can be found somewhere much more accessible. The fables of Roman writer Ovid feature a tale called Baucis and Philemon, closely resembling Sodom. See if this sounds familiar? One day, 2 heavenly beings in disguise, Zeus and Hermes, visit a wicked city to find any good people. Everyone in the city is a jerk except Philemon, who invites them into his home with his wife. Baucis. The couple feeds their guests, who reveal themselves as gods and plan to destroy the city. Baucis and Philemon are told to flee and not look back. In Ovid's version, Baucis doesn't turn into a pillar of salt, and the city is destroyed in a flood rather than fire. The story ends with Baucis and Philemon turning into trees, as fables often did in ancient Rome. 7. The fate of Lot's wife. The story of Sodom and Gomorrah is harsh for everyone involved, especially Lot's unnamed wife. After Lot's family is deemed worth saving, they are told to run to Zoar and not look back. Lot's wife turns around and Genesis 19:26 has her turn into a pillar of salt. The fate of Lot's wife is cruel in the Bible and the Torah, but the Quran goes further. In Surah Hud 11:81, the angels tell Lot to flee and not look back, but they specify that his wife will be struck by what strikes Sodom. Lot's wife's fate was part of God's plan. 8. Historical context of the cities of the plain. Despite the apocalypse, the cities of the plain had bad luck before. Sodom and Gomorrah aren't just introduced to be destroyed. Before Genesis 19, they appear in Genesis 14. The king of Elam had ruled the cities of the plain for 13 years. The kings of Sodom, Gomorrah, Zoar, Admah, and Zeboim rebel and raise an army, but fall into tar pits and are massacred. The king and his allies then ransack Sodom and Gomorrah, taking possessions and citizens. The famous Reign of Fire was their second apocalypse, as they were already recovering from a devastating war. 9. Lot's daughters and their actions. The mega-apocalypse is just the first part of Sodom and Gomorrah's story. After the fire and death, the Bible continues with another famous tale. Lot's daughters getting him drunk and sleeping with him to continue his line. They thought the rest of the human race had perished. But Genesis 19 is clear they had just left Zoar. For an explanation, turn to Genesis Rabbah, a Jewish book from Roman times that offers interpretations of Genesis. It states that a Messiah king was prophesied to come from Lot's line, so his daughters were preserving Lot's genetics. 10. Impact on biblical narrative. Saving Lot impacts the biblical narrative, some of it very negatively for the Israelites. Lot's daughters give birth to boys who found the Moabite and Ammonite dynasties. According to Britannica, the Moabites and Ammonites then waged continuous warfare on the Israelites for centuries. Still, there were positives. King David descended from Ruth, a Moabite, so no Moabites means no King David and no Solomon. On the other hand, it also means no centuries of warfare and fewer regional rivals. Take your pick. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Please subscribe and hit the notification bell. And always remember, God loves you. See you in the next video.